Hey, Margie here. Are you ready to be inspired to eat nourishing food for your body that will also improve the health of the planet? Well, if so, you are in the right place because we have a very special guest today, Ocean Robbins. Ocean is the co-founder and CEO of the 700,000 member Food Revolution Network. He is the author of the bestseller 31 Day Food Revolution, Heal Your Body, Feel Great, and Transform Your World. Ocean founded Youth for Environmental Sanity at the age of 16 and directed it for the next 20 years. He has spoken in person to more than 200,000 people, organized online seminars and events reaching more than a million people, and facilitated leadership development events for leaders from 65 nations. He has served as an adjunct professor for Chapman University and is the recipient of the National Jefferson Award for Outstanding Public Service, the Freedom's Flame Award, the Harmon Wilkinson Award, and many other honors. And Ocean is someone who's a doer in the world. And, he doesn't focus on what's wrong. He focuses on what can be done. So there's so much great information in this interview. And I know as I was, you'll really be inspired to just take positive action. So stay tuned. Welcome, Ocean. I can't even tell you how excited I am to have you on the podcast. I have been such a big fan of yours and your dad's and your mission for so many years. And what I love is you're a person of action. It's not that, so often people are focusing on problems, but you turn it around, focus on solutions, and have just done so much good in the world. So I'm just so excited to have you here with everyone. Thank you for coming.
Oh, my privilege, Margie. Thanks for having me.
So we have to start. We must start with your story because it's just really incredible. And so why don't you just start there? Because this is something that most people don't have the same kind of story that you do.
Okay, well, I'll go back a couple generations. So my grandpa founded an ice cream company called Baskin-Robbins. And my dad, John, grew up with an ice cream cone-shaped swimming pool in the backyard and 31 flavors of ice cream in the freezer. He was groomed to one day join in running the family company. But when he was in his early 20s, he was offered that chance and he said no. And he walked away from a path that was practically paved with gold and ice cream to, as we jokingly say in our family, follow his own rocky road. And he ended up moving with my mom to a little island off the coast of Canada where they built a one-room log cabin and grew most of their own food, practiced yoga and meditation for several hours a day, and named their kid Ocean. That's me. And they almost named me Kale, by the way. And this is way before kale was cool.
Oh, how
we did eat
funny
a
is
lot of
that?
kale.
That's hysterical. I must say, I have a cousin, River. So,
Oh, nice. I have a son named River.
oh,
So
really? That's
yeah,
great.
the ocean refuses no river. But we did eat all kinds of veggies from the garden. And as I got a little older, my family moved to California. And my dad began working on a book, which came out in 1987 called Diet for a New America. It inspired millions of people to look at their food choices as a chance to make a difference on the planet. And it became a runaway bestseller. The media had a lot of fun with the story. They called him the rebel without a cone and the prophet of nonprofit. And, as fate would have it, my dad inspired millions of people, including my grandpa Irv, who had lost his brother-in-law and business partner, Bert Baskin, to heart disease when my dad's uncle, Bert, the co-founder of the ice cream company, had died at the age of 54 of a heart attack. And so my grandpa now was facing serious heart problems himself, as well as type 2 diabetes, weight issues. And his doctors told him he didn't have long to live unless he made some big changes. And he ended up following their advice and reading my dad's book, which he implemented, and he ended up giving up ice cream, giving up sugar and most animal products, eating way more fruits and vegetables, getting more exercise. He lost a bunch of weight. His golf game improved 7 strokes. And most importantly, he reversed his diabetes and his heart disease, got off of meds he had been told he would have to take for the rest of his life, and lived 19 more healthy years. So we've really seen in our family very directly, as you can see from the 2 Baskin-Robbins founders here, the story of what happens when we follow the standard American diet is that we get the standard American diseases and die the standard American death. We've also seen what can happen when we make a change. And my grandpa had the courage to make a change. If anybody ever had an investment in thinking there's no connection between diet and health, it was him. If anybody ever had an investment in eating the way he always had, it was him. But he chose to make a change because he wanted to live. And he was one stubborn cookie, but if he could make a change like that, then maybe there's hope for the rest of us. And so in my own story, I was inspired both by my grandpa's legacy of making a big impact and also of having the courage to change, by my dad's choices for integrity over the almighty dollar, and then the impact he was making from a foundation of that integrity. And I wanted to see what I could do. So at the age of 16, I founded a nonprofit to work with young leaders around the planet, around peace, human rights, social justice, and sustainability, and wound up working with change agents in 65 countries around the globe for 20 years. And as I worked with helping to mobilize young people to be part of the solution on the planet and build bridges of partnership across differences, I saw that everybody eats and that what we're eating is having this huge impact. And I saw how all over the world, the American way of growing food with pesticides and factory farms and GMOs was spreading. The American way of processing and marketing food with white flour and white sugar and plastic packaged crap and processed food like foods was spreading, food like products was spreading. And I saw how waistlines were expanding and hospitals were filling up and people were getting sick with diseases that had been unheard of a generation or two ago as people ate more like us. And I looked at our country, the United States, which, the richest country in the world, has the world's highest obesity rate in the history of humanity. 65 to 70% of our population is overweight or obese. It's normal. And in the US. And I just said, oh my gosh, we've got to do something about this, because I saw that this way of manufacturing and processing and producing foods is sickening and killing people, and it's also destroying our planet. As I worked with Tashka Yawanawa from the indigenous tribe, the Yawanawa people in Brazil, he's the chief of his tribe. Their homeland, their entire way of life is threatened by logging and ranching. And the main reason that folks are logging is to create grazing land for cattle and to create land on which to grow soy, not for tofu, but to feed the cattle, because most of the world's soy is going to livestock, not to humans. And so, when I thought about how we can help Tashka, the best way we can help those of us who live, say, in developed countries is to eat less meat, because we reduce the demand for those burgers and those soybeans. And then suddenly the market shifts. And so if we want to save the rainforest, if we want to stop climate change, if we want to stop animals from being tortured in factory farms, if we want to save our own lives, if we want to bring down medical care costs, which are bankrupting the Medicaid system and the Medicare system and threatening the viability of our economy for future generations, the number one thing we can do is to eat less animal products and more whole plant foods. So in 2012, I joined with my dad in launching Food Revolution Network. And since then, we've been focused on working together to change the way the world eats. And we've now have more than 700,000 members. Our mission is healthy, ethical, sustainable food for all. It's a big goal, but someone's got to do it. And I'm pretty passionate about this stuff, as you can probably tell.
The funny thing, and I know I told you this when we first started, I went to your first summit and I just, I couldn't get over it. And I just thought it was so amazing. And look where you've come to. Well, why don't you just tell everybody what you're doing with the food revolution? Like maybe go in a little more specifics.
Sure. Well, we put on online summits and courses and master classes and a website, foodrevolution.org, where you can learn all about, we have hundreds and hundreds of articles on critical food topics. So that's all free. We have an email newsletter, and we also are involved in advocacy. We're working to promote campaigns for produce prescriptions so that doctors can prescribe fruits and vegetables to their patients, not just drugs and surgeries. Turns out that's a cost-effective medical intervention, and the only side effects are good ones.
I love that. I always think that to myself when people are put on a new medication. Why didn't you get a prescription? Actually, there was a physician who I interviewed, and I saw an article about her that she was writing on the prescription pad, fruits and vegetables. And I thought, oh gosh, you have to come on the podcast. But true, just think how many lives would be saved and how medical costs would go down. I love that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful campaign. So we're hoping we can push that forward. And, our mission is healthy, ethical, sustainable food for all. So we're also really looking at what are the underlying reasons why so many people don't have access to healthy food, and you shouldn't have to be rich or privileged to be able to feed your family well. But we have a subsidy program in the US where more than $10 billion a year goes to subsidize commodities crops, which at the end of the day means we're bringing down the price of things like high fructose corn syrup and white bread and factory farm meat. And we're not bringing down the price of things like broccoli and, cabbage and onions and other foods that we all know we should be eating more of. So, I don't care if you're a free market capitalist or a government intervention loving socialist. I think we could all say that something's wrong with this picture when we're subsidizing junk food, so we want to see an end to that. And hopefully we do believe in supporting our farmers, of course, but let's help them grow the right things, and let's make it easier in the marketplace for consumers to afford foods that are actually healthy for them. It shouldn't take your whole paycheck to eat whole foods.
On that note, Ocean, so many people say, yes, I don't want the GMOs. I want to eat organic, but I can't afford it. So what do you tell that person? What's the best advice?
Okay, so there's a few big tips if you're looking to save money and save your life and your health at the same time with food. So number one is, cut out the waste. The average American family wastes about $2,000 a year in food that just goes bad in the fridge. How do you do that? By planning ahead, by shopping from a list and avoiding impulse purchases. Typically what goes bad is the healthiest stuff. It's the perishable fruits and veggies. Well, and those tend to go bad when you fill up your belly and with calories that are coming from packaged non-perishables. So you want to use up the perishable fruits and veggies. And that means sometimes making big soups or stews at the end of the week, making friends with the freezer, freezing leftovers, cooking quantity, shop in bulk, cook in bulk. These things all help because it doesn't take twice as long to make twice as much. And you use the freezer and the fridge thoughtfully. When you plan well, you can cut out the waste. Number two is to get away from, eat less at restaurants and eat less prepared foods and do more of your own preparation. And this takes thought and planning, cooking in quantity again, having bulk staples around. So we cook legumes, whole grains, have those in the fridge. We soak them for a chunk of time to get them the enzymatic activity going, to get them starting to sprout and germinate, which actually makes them more bioavailable, the nutrients more bioavailable, and gets rid of some of the oxalates that might be there that are kind of anti-nutrients. So you get more bang for your buck from your food when you start to soak it or sprout it for a day or two first with grains and legumes. Then we cook them, have them in quantity in the fridge, and you can mix and match with some veggies, grains, legumes, different sauces. One or two really good sauces can go a long way. We have this dressing we use that we put on salad. We have it with vegetables. We have it on just about anything, and it makes it instantly taste good. So, and it's healthy. So, those are awesome things. When you make friends with a few things like that, a few systems like that, you can really save time as well as money. And then you're eating out less, and you're less likely to, be caught in impulse purchases when you're tired because you've got something planned ahead. I always make breakfast and lunch the night before so I can work all day and not be stuck or famished. And then there's food there, for my work day, So those are a few tips that combine time and money. Next, you want to, focus on the real superfoods. So you don't have to just eat, $30 a pound Himalayan goji berries to be healthy. Focus on cabbage and carrots and onions and other vegetables. Focus on legumes, which are really affordable. Get away from animal products because, quite frankly, animal products, and especially the pasture-raised ones that are a little bit cleaner, are really expensive. You can pay $30 a pound for some of that stuff, right? So if you get focused on legumes, you're looking at really cheap. You could spend $1.50, $2 a pound for some really nice organic legumes, and then you cook them and you get 3 times as much, right? Really cheap food. That's a great calorie source. Even things like quinoa, which is a little more pricey, is still really cheap compared to animal products or a lot of other things. So basing your diet around these kinds of foods, and then letting other sort of fun things be extra on the side, but the core of your calories are coming from the affordable staples. Use frozen vegetables if you want. Sometimes that's cheaper. Frozen fruits. They're picked at the peak of harvest when they're super ripe, and they're instantly frozen. So their nutrients are locked in there pretty well. So that can work well for a lot of people who are on a budget. Go organic if you can, but if you're struggling financially, that's an option. I support organic for a few reasons. One is it's better for the planet. Two is it's better for farm workers. And three, it reduces pesticide exposure for consumers. It may also have more nutrients depending on how the food is grown. But, don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. All those studies you may have heard about that show people thriving on a whole foods plant-based diet, most of the vegetables they're eating were grown commercially. They weren't grown organically. So if you see a study saying, gosh, there are studies, for example, Rush University in Chicago found that eating vegetables daily led to 11 more years of healthy brain function. So 11 more years just from eating greens daily, right? So most of those greens were not grown organically, and they still help a ton. So if you're choosing between an organic donut and non-organic kale, go for the kale. But if you can go organic, all the better, more power to you. We can also so those are some of the top tips, and then just steering clear of the really expensive foods that waste our money, our hard-earned money, which again could include some of the animal products, some of the processed foods, some of the restaurant-y things. Pay attention when you're shopping to prices. Those can all obviously help. The last thing is don't eat more calories than you need. I mean, the average American is eating about 3,500 calories a day, which is 500 to 1,000 more than is optimal. And that just goes to extra pounds around the middle. So when you really get your body the right nutrients, you tend not to overeat. When you eat less of the hyper processed foods that are loaded with added fats and sugars and salts, you may initially find that it's less appealing. And the good side of that is you may not overeat. Over time, your body gets comfortable and acclimated, and when you aren't nutrient deprived, you're more satisfied with your food and you aren't hungry after a meal. At first you might be because you're used to being stuffed, but as you get used to just being full and not stuffed, you'll actually find more comfort and pleasure in that. I have friends who eat no salt, and if they have just a tiny bit of sodium, it tastes too salty for them. Literally, they can't stand it because their taste buds have adjusted. Same is true with added sugars. If you don't eat desserts for a couple of weeks, for example, you'll probably notice that you're not craving dessert at the end of a meal. But if you have dessert every day for a couple of weeks, you'll find that your body is looking forward to it because you get locked into patterns and grooves like that. They can change remarkably fast. You have bacteria in your gut that feed off of the food you give them. And if you eat a lot of sugar, then you get bacteria that like sugar, and then they will send signals in your whole body that says we're hungry, and you'll think you're hungry, and you're hungry for the foods that those bacteria are used to. If you eat lots of fiber, over time your body will get hungry, and you could crave kale. I'm not kidding. I know that might sound crazy to some people, but I actually do. Sometimes I'm hungry late at night, I want to snack, munch on some kale, munch on some blueberries, have an apple, maybe if I really want to be decadent, stick some peanut butter on there, and I'm good to go, because that's how my body's gotten wired. It can happen for you as well. Even if that sounds impossible, it can happen. And so when you cut out excess calories, when you cut out waste, when you shop from a list, when you base your diet on the real superfoods instead of hyper processed stuff or hyper expensive stuff, all these things, and eat out at restaurants less, all these things together, you can save serious money, especially eating lower on the food chain, and also help to save your health.
Wow, I love all of those. And those are my go-to. I always tell people the beans are so inexpensive and the legumes, they're so inexpensive. They last so long and so healthy. And I'm a recovered sugar addict. And so I completely agree. I don't even want any of those desserts anymore. It just, little berries is amazing to me because my taste buds have changed. So I love all those. And it's so doable. So everybody listening, this is doable. And I think your family is such a good example how you can turn health around simply by changing the food you eat and helping the planet. So there's something really exciting that you're involved with the project. And I really want you to share that with everybody about the new movie and the new documentary. So
oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, who doesn't love a good movie that also changes your life and that's really fun to watch, right? I mean, my whole thing with food and the food revolution is we've got to make it super fun, like we've got to make the movement irresistible. If people think that eating healthy is drudgery and boredom and misery, we're never going to enroll people very well. There'll be a stoic few, but at the end of the day, it's got to be enjoyable. So a good movie can be like that. So every so often I see a movie that I just think, oh my gosh, it touches my heart. I learn a ton. It inspires me. And it's really fun to watch. So there's a movie that had that effect on me. So we reached out to the producers. We're like, hey, could we do something together? And lo and behold, here we are. The movie is called Fantastic Fungi. And it is about how the mycelial network of mushrooms could help heal our lives and heal our planet. And it's also just so inspiring. It's got some of the most beautiful time-lapse photography on mushrooms that's ever been produced. And you'll learn so much about this system, this life form that undergirds all of life. I mean, these are the ultimate composters. The mycelial network takes everything and decomposes it to create new life. So without them, like, there would be no life on this planet. And the mycelial network also turns out to be an incredible source of nutrition and food for humans, certain mushrooms, obviously not all of them. And then other mushrooms have value in terms of therapy and PTSD recovery and trauma healing and helping regulate nervous systems and mental health issues. And other mushrooms, many of them have the capacity to help clean up oil spills and toxic waste and even possibly nuclear waste. And so we're just barely, and help solve climate change. So we're just barely beginning to understand how we can ally ourselves with our natural allies, the mycelial network. So this movie opens your mind wide to what the mycelial network could do, how this could be the most potent ally humans have, and the missing link that we need to help solve so many of our problems. If we can just align with them and use the mycelial network more effectively and work with it for healing and restoration of our bodies, minds, spirits, and planet. So this movie is amazing. And some folks may have seen it, other folks may not. But what we did is we worked with the producers to create a special event edition that's got some new footage. And it's also a little bit slimmed down just to make it easier to watch in an evening. And this film is, we're releasing a special online premiere so you can watch it for free. And not only that, but we are pairing it with, when you register on our website to join this special event edition of Fantastic Fungi, you also get a mushroom cookbook we created in Food Revolution Network with 20 of our most popular and beloved mushroom recipes, using lots of different kinds of mushrooms in there, and all whole foods and plant-based. So you get all that when you register, and it's just a free event. So come on over to, well, is there a link?
Yeah, I'll give everybody a link. There'll be a link in the show notes, and
perfect.
it'll be right there, so they can just
click that link and join us. You can register for free. You can get 4 days to watch the movie. And then there's also, for those who are interested and want to support our mission here, you can invest in lifetime access after the days are over. And you can also choose to purchase a DVD of the film, or you can get what we call the Impact Kit, where we've put together this whole collection of interviews with some of the top fungi experts in the world. We've got Dr. Andrew Weil, Michael Pollan, Dr. Deepak Chopra, many other folks looking at everything from sort of the psychedelic side of magic mushrooms to the culinary uses, to wild foraging, to how mushrooms could help with toxic cleanups, and so many other things. So if you're inspired by the movie and you want to go deeper and understand more, then this is the Impact Kit is a great next step. And that's part of how you support our mission and help us get this out to more and more and more people.
Wow, I don't know how I missed this movie. I really don't. I'm so excited to watch the new edition that's coming out, because
100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That's almost unheard of. Like, everybody who sees it falls in love with it.
Wow, that really is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. But how wonderful that it's tied to a mission and that so much good can come from this. Wow, it's really, and it got into the right hands of you, who's such a doer and really starts movements that makes change for people's lives as well as the planet. Before we end, though, there's something that's near and dear to my heart that I know is near and dear to your heart as well. And so I have to share with everybody. Gratitude. To me, that's such a very important part of life. And I teach happiness, and I have found gratitude life-changing. And I know that's something that you talk about. So I'd love for you to share your experience with gratitude with everybody.
I think gratitude is a game changer for happiness and health. There are a lot of studies on gratitude and health and athletic performance, and they find a strong correlation. And I always thought, well, of course, right? Like, people who have good things happen to them are going to be more grateful. Like what good does that do, right? Sure, you get some, you get a promotion or you fall in love and you're happier and you're more grateful and that's easy. So what? But here's the amazing thing. Gratitude isn't just a one-way street where good things happen and you feel grateful. When you express gratitude, things feel better. Your experience of life gets better. What you appreciate appreciates. And then you have more space to enjoy the beautiful moments and the gifts of your life because your consciousness is open. And it goes further than that. Gratitude doesn't just make things feel better. It actually makes them get better. So people in studies, people who spend 5 minutes a day at the end of the day, just writing down 5 things they're grateful for, 3 things they're grateful for from the day, can be simple things. When they do that every day, even for a couple of months, guess what? They lose weight, they eat better, they exercise more, their relationships improve, their self-confidence goes up, their self-esteem goes up, their mental health improves, and their health gets better. They have less stress. Their biomarkers for likelihood of heart attack or stroke or diabetes go down. They are better off in life. They're healthier and more vibrant people just from taking those 5 minutes a day to express gratitude. So the neuroscience of gratitude is absolutely extraordinary. And I know, as well as we all know, that this world brings us so many reasons to be miserable and cynical and cranky and frustrated and pessimistic and despair. But I'll tell you what, the world also gives us opportunities for gratitude. And I don't care what you're dealing with. If you have blood in your veins, if you have breath in your lungs, if you can hear us right now, you are alive. And as long as there is life, there is hope and there is possibility. And there are all kinds of vital systems in your body that are working, even if some things aren't. I mean, if you bang your big toe, that's all you got attention for. And you're not paying attention to the other 9 toes that are fine and everything else that's working. But right now, there's a lot that's working. And there's a lot we all have to be grateful for. And every miracle and every blessing we've ever received that's made it possible for us to still be above ground right now is something we could be grateful for if we wanted to. And so I say, let's keep focusing on, as much as we can, what we have rather than what we don't have, what we want to move towards rather than what we're afraid of or moving away from. Because, when I learned to ride a bike, I remember getting out there and I first time out and I see a pothole in front of me and I'm riding towards it and I'm like, don't hit the pothole, don't hit the pothole, don't hit the pothole. And I'm staring at the pothole, trying not to hit it. And guess where my bike went? Right where I was looking, which is where the pothole was. Crash, ow, skin, knee and all. And then the next time I was riding my bike, I rode on the other side of the street. And I learned over time that you tend to ride where you look, right? And that's true in such a profound way in our lives. So, if you want to eat healthy, don't focus on all the bad stuff you're going to avoid. Focus on the good stuff you're moving towards. If you want to run fast, don't think about all the reasons why your knees hurt. Think about the time you're going to get and how good it's going to feel and where you're going. If you want a loving relationship with your partner, focus on what you appreciate about them. Tell them what you love about them. Don't complain about all the things they do wrong and all the things you wish would change. We all learn eventually that doesn't change them. It just makes life miserable, So the same is true in any area of life. The messages you send yourself, the messages you send your body. You are beautiful. You are precious. You are worth loving. You are worth taking care of. And you have a lot to be grateful for. And I can tell you that right now, and when you lean into healthy food, it can be an act of gratitude as well. Grateful for the farmers and farm workers, grateful for the opportunity to nourish your body with love and compassion, grateful to live with dignity, grateful for the opportunity to eat at all. And when we give that thanks, and even before a meal is a great time to practice gratitude, I believe that we put our bodies in a more receptive state and a more open state to receive the blessings and miracles of life. And we're less drawn to instant gratification junk foods that may taste good, may stimulate us, but may also at the end of the day lead to crashes in blood sugar, lead to more suffering and misery and more risk of chronic disease. There is infinitely more pleasure and infinitely more joy to be found in moving towards health than in the short-term pleasure that comes from foods that make us ill.
Wow, that was just so beautifully said. And I agree with every single word. And that's what I've seen in my life, in my practice. There's just, what you focus on grows, and it makes such a difference. And it was just, you said that so well. Is there any last minute things that you want to share before we end? I know we could talk for hours. I just love everything you're doing, and you have such really great tips and strategies and for eating healthy. And that's why it's so wonderful that you also have a book. You have a book that you wrote too. You want to just tell real quickly the name of your book?
Sure. So I wrote a book called 31 Day Food Revolution: Heal Your Body, Feel Great, and Transform Your World. And it walks you through all of that we talk about in Food Revolution Network: healthy, ethical, sustainable food for all, how you can be part of the solution on planet Earth, and how you can implement healthy eating in your own life. So part one is detoxify. We focus on getting away from the bad stuff. Part two is nourish. We focus on the optimal superfood, healthy diets and how to say yes to the good stuff. Part three is gather. It's on the social side of food and building healthy relationships to support food, healthy food culture for yourself and your world. And part four is transform. And it's how you can be a food revolutionary, how you can make your food choices into a stand for the health and the world you want. And we look at everything from slavery in the chocolate industry to factory farms to environmental destruction. But more importantly, we look at solutions and the power of organic and regenerative and non-GMO and local and fair trade agriculture and what these really mean, and how you can use your hard-earned dollars efficiently to get the results you want for your health and your planet. So 31 Day Food Revolution, it's available in bookstores or online. And you can join us in Food Revolution Network. Again, go to foodrevolution.org and check out our website. Click the link in the show notes to connect with the fantastic Fungi movement, the underground movement to change the world and heal our lives. And then you're part of us every time you choose real food over processed junk, every time you vote with your dollars and your food choices for the health and the world that you want. And I'm right there cheering you on, saying, yeah, you deserve it.
Oh, well, I can't thank you enough, Ocean. This is so important. And for everybody listening, just often people are like, yeah, I have to do it, but doesn't really matter. Hope this gave you some inspiration that it's doable. It makes a difference for your health. Just think about Baskin-Robbins next time you're ready to eat that sugar and Ocean's family. But the work you've done is just amazing, and the movement. And I'm just so excited. I can't wait to see this movie. It sounds incredible.
Thanks,
So,
Margie.
so thank you so much for joining me here today and really sharing your wisdom. And thank you for being a doer in the world and making so much change and just being an inspiration to all of us. So thank you so much. Wow, I just love being with Ocean, and I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I did. And now feel inspired to really choose healthy food that's going to nourish your body as well as help the planet. And look for solutions. See how you can be part of the solution. There's so many opportunities. So definitely check out his new movie, Fantastic Fungi. I'll have the link for you, as well as the Food Revolution and his book. So lots of great resources and opportunities, as I said, to make a difference in your health as well as the health of the planet. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.